Hey everybody, it's Leero with Leero Gaming, and I'm here to bring you my second build for Tiny Tinas Wonderlands. This time, we're going to be focusing on the Spore Warden, and this is my Speed Racer build that's going to combine the Spore Warden multiclassing with the Stabbomancer. Now, the whole theme of this build is running and running fast, running and gunning, and then situationally, you're going to sneak into the shadows, do a ton of crits, ricochet a bunch of attacks, especially if you need to kind of hunker down on a tough enemy, and then keep on running. So anytime you're not in the shadows hiding, you're going to be moving fast, doing a ton of damage. So kind of swapping between those two modes, this should be great for speed running. You should be able to do this right off the bat, day one. As with my previous video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a quick TLDR while I'll show you on the Wonderland skill calculator, which is still a work in progress. The very quick overview for those of you that just want that, the nitty gritty. And then after that, we're going to go and I'm going to give you a full-on in-depth breakdown and explanation of everything about the build. So for those of you that like that in-depth guide, similar to my Outriders guides, have always built those, this should be helpful. Now, again, I did not have early access to the game, unfortunately, so a lot of this is made and utilized based off the power of theory crafting, but I'm quite confident that this will be quite effective for day one launch of the game. So hopefully you guys enjoy this content. If you do, make sure to drop a like. Leave me a comment with feedback on how I can improve or what you would like to see next from me. That being said, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the Speed Racer build. So here we are on the Wonderland skill calculator. I do want to point out it is still kind of buggy. Either that or there's something really wonky with the skill points. As far as I've been told, you're supposed to get about roughly 40 points at level 40, but here it kind of it maxes out at 39 and it doesn't jump up to level 40 until you hit 44. So maybe there's a bunch of extra points I don't know about, but this build is up to 40 points. Of course, you can add extra points if you do get them at level 40, which is the level cap. And I'll give recommendation on that at the end of the TLDR here. But as far as the skill points we're going to get, and these are not necessarily in the order that I pick them up, the specific order I will go over in the in-depth part of the video. But we're going to get 5 out of 5 Bounty of the Hunt, 4 out of 5 Eagle Eye, 1 out of 1 Spore Cloud, 5 out of 5 Bullseye, 3 out of 3 Windrunner, 3 out of 3 Thrill of the Hunt, 3 of the 3 Called Shot, 1 out of 1 Headhunter, and 1 out of 1 Play the Eagles. And under Stabbomancer, we're going to go 3 out of 3 Haste, 3 out of 5 Potent Poisons, 5 out of 5 Swift Death, and 3 out of 5 Exploit Their Weakness. And we're going to be using From the Shadows. Now, this setup is if at level 40 we only get access to 40 points. And again, previous to posting my first build video, numerous people told me it was in fact 40 points, but I've now gotten comments on my video stating that it is indeed 44. So in that case, this would actually be great news here because it would help min-max this build even more. So here's the setup if that is correct. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put one more point into Potent Poisons to put it at 4 out of 5. And that's going to unlock Tier 4, which is huge for us. So in Tier 4, we're going to start with Elusive. And then we're going to go ahead and put the final 2 points in Contagion. And that's going to put us at 44 points. Again, in the full in-depth video, I'll explain exactly why I pick all these, why they're important, how they synergize. But again, if you are here just for the TLDR or TLDW, I guess, and wanted a quick, succinct version of this video, this is everything you technically need to copy the build. Before you leave, do drop a like if you want to support the channel and you like the content within this video. I would love your feedback. Drop a comment. Love hearing from you guys. Any thoughts you have and any recommendations. And for those of you that want my in-depth information and explanation on what I choose and why I chose it, stick around. Let's jump in and do a full in-depth look at this build. All right, we're going to start by looking at the class feats that we'll have access to for this build. I want to start with Mushroom Companion. So the Fate Maker is accompanied by a Mushroom Companion that targets nearby enemies and deals poison damage. Pinging an enemy will cause your Mushroom Companion to lunge towards them. Any increases to the Fate Maker's damage also apply to their companion. So this companion is going to probably do pretty good damage because of the fact that it scales with your damage on top of any companion damage you may coincidentally get. He also applies poison damage, which is nice because later on in the build, you're going to see how we're going to have an easy way of getting multiple different debuffs like poison or fire, etc. on different enemies, and that's going to allow you to increase your DPS even more. So you may very well have your pet be the one that applies the poison. So we are not in this build going kind of pet heavy. This is not a summoner build or anything like that, but he's still going to be useful and he's going to scale pretty well. Now from the Stabbomancer, we're going to get the class feat Dirty Fighting. The Fate Maker's critical hit chance is increased, and unless it's changed from what I found out, is that this is going to be a 30% increase crit hit chance, which is substantial. Since this is a crit hit build, we want to be critting a lot. This is going to be a really nice passive that's just going to help the build overall. So very simple, but very potent. All right, next we're going to look at the action skill that we're going to choose. And similar to with my Graveborn build, even though we are going with the Spore Warden as our primary class, we're actually going to choose from the shadows for this particular build. Now from the shadows says the Fate Maker enters stealth, turning invisible. While in stealth, all damage dealt is automatically a critical hit, but critical hit deals reduced damage. Now this is really, really nice because it's going to play into the playstyle, which is going to be stacking a bunch of movement speed, and then whenever From the Shadows is up and we have an important target like an elite up, you're going to go into From the Shadows. We're going to kind of snipe the enemy down while you're in stealth, and then as soon as you're out of stealth and potentially in danger, you're going to start moving super fast again and kind of rinsing and repeating the cycle. This is why it's going to be, I feel, very good for speed runs, and also again, it's also going to help you stay safe. So if you are a new player and you're just starting out, the combination of the pet being a distraction plus being able to quite consistently go into stealth, this is going to be a really nice combination. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and take a look at the passive skills. I want to start on the Spore Warden side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put 5 out of 5 points into Bounty of the Hunt. So this is a kill skill. Action skill cooldown rate is increased for a brief duration. This is big because, again, we're going to want to be turning invisible as much as possible as part of this build. So getting that stacked up nice and high early is going to be very beneficial. After that, we're actually going to go ahead and put 1 point into Spore Cloud. And so this is a 1 point tier 2 passive. Your Mushroom Companion will occasionally let one rip, taunting enemies and leaving a poison cloud that deals damage over time. So what's interesting here is later on, we're going to have a synergy about applying different debuffs, different status effects. I'm not sure. It says that we have to apply it. I cannot confirm currently whether your companion, your main companion, applying it counts for that, or if it's actually you have to do with your weapon, either your melee weapon or your gun. I'm not 100% sure. If this counts, then that's going to be even better. If not, this is still a good survival tool to get the enemy off of you so that you're less likely to die, and also lets you kind of round up enemies to where they can be kind of sitting ducks for you. So either way, for 1 point, it's good, but it could potentially be great. Next, we're going to go and stay in tier 2, and we're going to put 5 points into Bullseye. So gun critical hit chance is increased and companion critical hit chance is increased. This build is all about having high crit hit chance, all the things that happen when you crit things, and moving fast. Those are the two things we care about. And then also, as part of the end build, we're going to be caring about status effects as well. So you can't go wrong here, and it buffing your companion is good as well. Remember, when we increase our own damage, it also increases our companion damage. So unlike Borderlands 3, the companion should scale better into the end game. So this is overall great. And that's going to unlock tier 3 for us. And tier 3, we're going to pick up Wind Runner, I'm going to put 3 points into this. It is a kill skill. It is the first part of our movement speed synergy. So if this, we increase movement speed and fire rate for a duration. This effect can stack anytime we kill any enemy. This is going to be a big deal. You're going to see later on, and especially in the Stabbomancer side of things, where this pays off. For now, it's going to help you move around and clear content quicker, but later on, it's going to be a major source of your damage. Now, at this point, we need one more point to be put into this tree in order to unlock the next tier. So we're going to go back to tier 1, and we're going to put 1 point into Eagle Eye. This increases our gun damage, and gun handling is increased. Because this is a gun build, we're not really focusing on melee weapon damage. Spell damage is not going to be the primary factor either. So this is a nice safe point to put a point into. And now that tier 4 is open, we're going to go ahead and put 3 points into Thrill of the Hunt. Gun critical hits grant increased companion damage for a duration. This can stack up to 10 times. Now this is big because this is how we're going to really buff up our pet. So anytime we go into stealth, remember all our hits are going to be critical hits. So we're going to get this 10 stack up like crazy, super fast. And also we're going to increase our base crit hit chance. So when we're just running around and hitting things, we'll be critting more often as well. So this is going to help our companion become a nice beastly DPS monster. And after that, we're going to continue to stay with tier 4, and we're going to put 3 out of 3 points into Cold Shot. So this is while aiming down sight, the Fate Maker gains an ever-increasing amount of increased gun damage and damage reduction. So the goal here is we're going to want to use Cold Shot when we go into stealth. So this build is all about moving really fast when we're not stealthed. The one thing about aiming down sight is we are more vulnerable, but when we're invisible, we're not vulnerable at all, pretty much. So we're going to go into in our invisible state. We're going to have guaranteed crits. For every second we're in there, we're going to increase our damage of call shots. Yes, our crit hits will do less damage, but we're going to be doing a ton of damage and getting some other synergies as well. So during that stealth period, we are nice and safe. We are maxing out the damage of our pet, and we're also doing a ton of burst damage. So this is a great synergy that you're going to get relatively early in the game still. And after this, we're going to get into tier 5. I'm going to put 1 point into Headhunter. Gun damage dealt to critical hit areas is increased. So for those of you that are new to Borderlands, there's 2 ways to crit here. You can either crit by just having a random chance of hitting a body part to crit, or if you hit a weak spot. So traditionally, like in a lot of first-person shooters, a lot of enemies, that's the head, but not always. Sometimes they'll have weak spots on other parts of their body. That's why it says critical hit areas. And for 1 point, getting a nice boost to our crit hit damage is pretty nice. So can't go wrong for 1 point here. And at this point, in order to unlock tier 6, we still need to get 3 more points. So we're going to go ahead and go back to Eagle Eye. We're going to put those last 3 points in Eagle Eye to increase our handling, but more importantly, our gun damage, which then goes ahead and unlocks the requirements for tier 6. And in tier 6, we're going to take 1 point into Play the Angles. The Fate Maker's gun critical hits have a chance to ricochet, dealing reduced ability damage to a nearby enemy. Ricocheted shots have a small chance to ricochet an additional time. So this really feeds into that synergy we've been building up when we go into stealth mode. We go into stealth mode, we go down, aim down sight, and we just do a massive amount of critical hits, maximizing the amount of ricochets. So doing multi-hit kills hopefully is the idea, buffing out our pet, etc, etc. So really nice synergy. You'll also practice situationally when you're running and gunning, but really doing those DPS burst windows when you're invisible is where you're going to get the most out of Play the Angles. But wait, there's more. At this point, we've already had some really nice synergies, but it's going to only get better as we go and put the remaining points in the Stabbomancer. Let's not forget, we get that critical hit chance buff of 30% right off the bat from picking up this multiclass, but there are some great passives here as well. The first passive we're going to pick up on here is going to be 3 points into Haste. Now, it says melee attack speed is increased, which is a bit of a waste, but that's okay. What we care about is movement speed is increased, and very importantly, when you cast a spell, double this bonus for a duration. Now, this means that the spells we want to choose are going to be quick cooldown rate spells. Notice it doesn't say while a spell is active. So we don't care as far as how long a spell lasts. What we care about is how often can we cast it. And you might find a really effective spell, but sometimes, especially while leveling, you might just find a spell that you can cast often to constantly proc this haste, and that might be one of the reasons you get it. So again, this haste, we're getting it for that movement speed. And after that, we're going to go ahead and put 2 points into Potent Poison. Now, even though it says Potent Poisons, do state it says status effect damage is increased and status effect duration is increased. So this is all status effects. So burning, shock, obviously poison, etc. So this is going to be useful in the kind of end part of this build, as we'll see in just a second. And after that, this will unlock tier 2, and we're going to go ahead and put 5 points into Swift Death. While moving, the Fate Maker gains increased damage dealt. The faster the Fate Maker moves, the greater these bonuses. So here is the key to all of this. This is why we've been stacking all the movement buffs across the board. And notice it just says flat damage dealt. So this is important because this will buff our companion directly. So not only are we getting a ton of damage increase, but our companion that has kind of been a tank for us is also going to do significant damage as well. So this is where it all comes together. Yes, it's kind of end game, but when it does come together, it'll be super sweet. And then to make things even nicer is exploit their weakness. We're going to put 3 points into this. Whenever the Fate Maker applies a status effect to an enemy, the affected enemy takes increased damage from all sources for its duration. The effect can stack per unique status effect. Now again, I can't test this. It'd be nice if your companion's poison counted for this, but I'm assuming it won't, at which point you're going to either want to have multiple weapons you can cycle through to apply different status effects potentially, or if there's a weapon that has multiple status effects that it can apply, that'd be amazing. Well, as well, maybe you find a fast casting spell that applies as well. So that is everything up to 39 points. And then if in fact there are 40 points, as I believe there are for level 40, then you have 1 more point, and I would put it into Potent Poisons. However, I have had comments on my first video stating that in fact there are really 44 points at level 40. If this is the case, here are the adjustments I would make for that. So the first thing we would do is we would go ahead and put 1 more point into Potent Poisons. That will bring it to 4 out of 5. And this will unlock tier 4 of the Stabbomancer tree, which would be absolutely amazing because it would take our movement synergy to the next level. At this point, we would have 3 more points. And so we would put the first point into Elusive, which is 1 of 1. You can now shoot and sprint at the same time. You gain a chance to evade incoming damage while moving. The faster you move, the greater the chance. So this would be amazing. So not only is it better defense, but even more damage because sprinting obviously is faster than normal moving. And then with the last 2 points, I would go ahead and put them in Contagion. Whenever the Fate Maker applies a status effect, there is a chance it spreads to nearby enemies. If no enemies are nearby, deal a percentage of the status effect's total damage to the enemies instead. So that will go ahead and play into the status effect part of the synergy as well. So again, I hope I was initially wrong and it's 44. If it is, here it is. And if it really is only 40, then you have the abridged version of this build as well. Now, gear and equipment. So remember, you're going to be able to get a melee weapon, a gun. You're going to be able to get a ring, an amulet. So various pieces of loot. What stats are we looking for on these weapons? Well, obviously status effects on weapons would be phenomenal. Cooldown reduction for both spells and your action skill is big as well because we want to be able to spam those as much as possible. This build will really benefit from crit damage because you're already going to be critting a lot and you're going to have a lot of automatic crit hit chances. Now, getting crit hit chance is not bad, but you may get kind of diminishing returns of its effectiveness. So I would mainly stick to crit hit damage whenever you can. Those cooldown reductions. If you can improve your movement speed, definitely get that. That's going to be big. And if you can find ways to apply various status effects, that's going to be big for it as well. So that is everything you need to know to build your own Speed Racer Spore Warden day 1 of release. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, remember, drop a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know what other kind of guides you'd like to see from me. And as always, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one, and hopefully soon in my more in-depth guides using my own in-game footage.